All right, welcome all to my 2025 English podcast. The menu item of today is a grassroots writing article, What Video Games and Writing Have in Common. Obviously for this project, I had a lot of variety to choose from in articles, but this one seemed to connect the best with me because I play a lot of video games in my spare time. That's one of my favorite hobbies. I'm not really big on going out and that sort of stuff, so that's just what I do with my free time. So to dive right in, the article opens with a story of people playing video games, and they talk about the troubles of like going from in a simple game like Mario or something like that to going to something more complicated and like having more complicated controls where you have to use more like thought process, more pathways and all that to try and like play the game. That'll be important later as we go through the story. The author, Andrew Taylor, initially took credits these like troubles to like laziness or unwillingness to learn, which is fair because I play on controller. I never learned the controls for like mouse and keyboard or for different platforms, so those would be hard for me, and I guess that's laziness. But after the opening statement, Taylor jumps into an anecdote about his wife trying to play a video game for the first time. And following the earlier theme of the article, she's having trouble with the controls. She's not like being able to dodge fast enough, block fast enough, what she's describing in the game. She's having trouble adapting to like the complex button layout. So he urges his wife to go on, but she explains to him that she's taking too long to think about like what she needs to do. And therein lies the problem. Now I play a lot of games, and so when Taylor points out that issue, it clicks with me. When I play video games, I'm not looking at my controller, I'm not like thinking about what I have to do. My hands are just here and they're doing what they need to do because I know in my head, I've done it a million times, so it's already easy for me. But to someone who's not done it before, it's harder. And so he explains his point by like having the reader raise your right arm and then drop it. It's not something difficult. You don't have to like really think like, oh, I need to move this muscle, this like joint, all that to do it. You just do it. So after this connection is made, he pivots to the literary side of things and connects video games to writing. As writers, we're all basically taught like pathways in video games. Like in high school, we all learn basic essay formats. We learn how to like, I guess, do creative writing, storytelling, but mostly just essays. And now because we've learned those pathways, we're like hardwired to write that way. So creating other genres and other works of writing become more and more difficult without them looking more and more like the same essays we wrote. We try and force what we've already learned into something that's different. Taylor goes on to elaborate that practice is the best way to try and break these habits, and so that you can change the game. So that we write in different genres, we actually fit the genre, we fit the description, we're writing the right format instead of just forcing a different template onto something else. Finally, Taylor gives a few good pieces of advice to help readers and writers overcome the challenges when writing in a different genre. First one is figuring out your audience, knowing who you're trying to talk to, who you're trying to reach. The next is finding examples, which is something I do with every project I do. I find an example of something that is like a good work, and you look at that. You look at their thought process, how they organize their thoughts, how they organize the paper, what sort of path they took, and you can apply that to how you go about your work. And the last one is figure out what your end goal for the work is, what you want it to look like, and what you want the final piece to be. Like moving from game to game, Taylor aims to help writers go from genre to genre. Moving on from the actual content of the article, I believe that it is actually very helpful for students in a classroom, young writers. The article seamlessly connects a massive form of media that young people use all the time with the ideas of transitioning from like high school writing to professional writing. The simple approach to highlighting where the problem can be with writing makes it easy for students to take that perspective with their own writing, like highlighting how playing video games, you can have the wrong like controls, like you don't know the controls because you're so used to one way that you can't adjust to the other, or you've never done it before so you don't even know what you're doing. Is you can apply that to your own writing, and you can look at it and say, well, if I'm writing this paper, I know how to write an essay, but I don't necessarily know how to write an argumentative letter or something like that. So what do I need to do differently to fit the format of this paper so that it doesn't look wrong or doesn't look like the same essay I've been writing? Taylor outlines steps to adjusting to the right genres when writing in a new area, trying to break the habits that go with having done something one way for so long. But this article does give a few good examples of how to do it and examples of how people do it in other forms of media. Thank you.